Hi everyone, a bit of a different video here from me today. Normally I talk about all things CX or LinkedIn or careers advice, but I guess it kind of connects to that. So I set up my own business, Ellison Coast, in 2024, and since then, as a recruiter, I've spoken to people in recruitment and they ask questions about setting up your own business, what it's like, how it's gone, things like that. I think partly because what I've done is different, but also because people are just genuinely interested, right? And so I thought I'd start a short series of videos, because it's going to be too long for one, talking about exactly that. Taking the step from working for a recruitment business and setting up your own recruitment company. And I wanted to start with things to consider before you do that. And then we can look at in another video what you need in place when you've made the decision you're going to do it, and then sort of what it's like kind of once you're up and running, and how you handle various operational challenges and business development and all those sorts of things that can go along with it. And these aren't all just my experiences as well. These are things I've learned from other people that have set up different sorts of recruitment companies as well. My background is purely sort of technology recruitment, although I spent a bit of time leading an engineering team as well. And so, not everything I'm saying will be appropriate for probably every sort of recruitment company, but I think it will cover the bulk of it. So we're going to go through a few different topics. I'm going to break them down into little areas so you can jump around in the timestamps below if you want to. Make sure you like this video if the content's useful. Subscribe to the channel so you get reminded about those other ones as they come out over the next couple of weeks. And if you've got any specific questions you want to put in the comments below, thoughts on what I'm saying, whether you agree or disagree, or you just have questions, ask away and I'll come back to you. Okay, and we can take that offline as well if you want to keep those things private. But let's start off then. I suppose I'll give you a bit of a history of myself if you don't know anything about me. So I've spent a little bit over 20 years in professional recruitment, working with companies mainly in the UK, but in Europe and North America as well, a little bit outside of that. Majority of it, as I said, has been technology recruitment, and it's been split across permanent and contract recruitment as well. I've worked for big global recruitment businesses, big regional recruitment businesses, and independent startup type companies as well, in a variety of roles. But for pretty much that entire 20-year period, I've been hands-on to one degree or another, and of course now running my own business, Ellison Coast, I would still be a hands-on recruiter as well, because there is no one else to do anything for me unless you outsource things, and I have no intention of doing that. Over that time, I have helped found other businesses, and I've worked with people that are founding businesses, and I've founded offices, and I've recruited teams. And so I've been through some of the startup motions before. Do I think you need to be in recruitment for that long before you start your own thing up? No, absolutely not. So I'm not going to sit here and say you need to be in the business for even 10 years before you go and set your own thing up or whatever. So don't worry about that. If you're thinking, here's some old guy that's going to tell me I can't do my own thing, that isn't the case. But there are some things you need to know, and those are easily learned over time. And there are some things you need to do, and those things take time. So there is a bit of earning your stripes, in my opinion, before you go out and set up your own thing, if you want it to be successful. And I suppose then it's worth discussing what success looks like. When you work for a recruitment company, you are set targets and goals, and those will pretty much stay the same or increase every year. And that's because that's how the company pays for itself, right? They want to get a certain amount of profit out of an individual. They will pay you a percentage of your invoicing as commission, but they're also factoring in salary as well, which is why, typically speaking, salaries increase very slowly in recruitment, because they want to kind of keep that percentage about the same, and that the remainder minus costs gives that profit per head that they're aiming for. So they are always going to want to increase those targets. It is very rare, unless there are significant external economic factors, recessions, wars, pandemics, etc., all of which we've had in the last 6-7 years, that targets would ever go down. They will largely always go up. And that is an interesting mindset. And it is one that you need to change if you are going to set up your own business and maintain it and define what success looks like. Success for you as a solo entrepreneur, someone running their own business, will be very different to what a company defines success to look like. Success to you should be initially paying your responsibilities, paying your bills. Then it should be one level up from that, whatever that is, matching what you were earning when you were working for another company. So giving you disposable income that you can enjoy. Then it should really be beating that. So whatever you were earning when you were working for someone else, you're now earning more than that. So life is better. There should also be elements in there when you're running your own business of greater flexibility, greater job satisfaction, and all the kind of soft stuff that comes with it as well. You should be able to live your life on your terms because you are not accountable to anybody else. And so caveat on this wouldn't apply if you were going to go and set up your own company under one of those umbrella recruitment things where they do all your operational stuff for you and they take a fee for that, and then they give you operational leadership support. So effectively you're reporting into them and therefore you are accountable to them. That's not your own business. That's someone else's business, and you're just paying them for their advice and support. Don't do that. I don't agree with those at all. They're a total waste of time. That's not that you're just working for someone. If you want your own business, you either seek external investment if you feel you need it, although actually getting a recruitment company up off the ground is fairly low cost, or you bootstrap it from the way up. That's what I did with Ellison Coast. There is no external investment, no external interest. I'm accountable to nobody except myself and my family. And that is running your own business, in my opinion. And that's right. Success then is not hitting an increasing target each year. It might be earning more and more money each year, but it will probably get to a point, unless you make some significant investments and changes in your life, where it kind of plateaus in terms of earning, because that is enough. That's what you need to live the life that you want, offset against the flexibility that you have, the time that you work. Some people might want to work 4 days a week, right? Some people might, want to do it as a part-time thing, and then they do something else as well that matters to them. And so it's all going to offset. But then it'll probably reach a point which you go, yeah, that's enough. Whereas within an organization, your targets will always increase, you'll have incentives thrown at you, you'll have promotions thrown at you. You need to stay on that treadmill because otherwise it doesn't work. Now, in reality, having worked with a lot of top billers over the years, that never happens, right? Everybody does plateau, and then typically those top billers either go and start their own business or they get moved into a hands-off role or something like that, operational leadership, because they just can't go any further. There is as far as you can go and that's it, but it's whispered quietly in the halls of an employer. It's something you need to look yourself in the eye and face if you're going to set up your own business. Year one, I need to earn this. I want to earn this. My goal will be to earn that. When I'm earning that, I probably just need to maintain that. And that's something that you need in mind before you start the process of setting up your own business, because it dictates something about how you set up your own business. So that's me and a definition of what success looks like, in my opinion. And I suppose the difference then between your own business and these kind of disguised own businesses where actually somebody else has got their hand in your pocket and actually can tell you what to do. If someone else can tell you what to do, it's not your business. Simple. So then you've got to decide what it is you really want. So let's take that point about what your business looks like and building it in a way that it can sustain a income number when you've reached it going forward. You need to think about why you'd be setting your own business up. What is the differentiator or the USPs? And where that's coming from. Is it something you've just come up with and you think it's a great idea to do something differently, but you can't tie it to anything? That, for me, is a risk. It might be a great idea. It might not be. You have no evidence of that. If you have built an opinion that something is a better way of doing something because of things your clients have said to you or your candidates have said to you. You can point at individual case studies and you can say, if on that situation I was able to work differently, I could have made more from that. That client would have been happier. We'd have retained them, whatever it is. Then that is something that's worth looking at and digging into. And I'm speaking from first-hand experience there. So Ellison Coast is a different structure of business, specifically created in response to the challenges and the changes that I heard about and saw from customers that I've been dealing with for many, many years in the space that I work in, which is CX, as you can see from this channel. And so it's targeted literally at things that they have said to me over a long period of time. So the creation of it feels almost organic because it answers a question. If you don't have that, how are you going to market that to people? You have to start by then saying, there's a problem that you don't know about or aren't aware of, and I've solved it, and you need to buy that. It's doable, of course it happens, but if you can say to a client, I am aware of that situation, and I've created a service that solves that, normally with some financial gain for the client, they are far more likely to buy it. And the great thing really is, as an individual solo entrepreneur, you can be cheaper than a larger recruitment business and still earn the same amount of money. We'll come on to earnings and things in depth perhaps in the next video when we talk about actually setting it up, but you can charge less, right? So you can be cheaper. The question then is, can you deliver the same service? If cheaper isn't the same or better, why would they buy it? But that comes back to those USPs and that reason for doing it. It should feel obvious based on a culmination of things that you've witnessed. This ties back into what I said earlier in the video about experience. Some experience is essential. You can't set up your own business successfully after 18 months in the game. It isn't going to happen. You haven't experienced enough. You haven't had enough touch points with customers to categorically say, I've identified something that's missing. You're probably not worldly wise enough to know that yet. Sorry if that feels insulting. I just think it's true. You can't put a number on the amount of years or months or whatever that I think you do need, because it's going to be different for everybody, because it's about quality, not quantity. But there is sort of a minimum end, and it's probably around 3 or 4 years at least in the job. But if you always know you want to set up your own thing, you can make those 3 or 4 years really count towards that. And I do think all recruiters probably should think like that one day I want to do my own thing in my own image, and that I'm always building towards that. And it's in the back of my mind consciously. So everything really is a step towards that. But you need that USP. You need that reason that you're going to found a business for the customer, not just for you. You need ideally some case studies that would back up the why on that. If you've got that, fantastic. Think about the vertical then. Are you charging headlong at a vertical that is already really well supported? It's got AI in it, it's got cloud in it, it's got DevOps in it. From my market, great. How many businesses are you going to go toe to toe with? You are far better off working in a space that is underserved, if you were going to set up your own thing, rather than just going toe to toe with everybody else that's jumped on a bandwagon at the moment. And also those things can be short-lived as well, and short-lived might be a few years, but it's still short-lived. Your business needs to outlast that, right? This should be the last job you ever want to do. You're setting up your business so that you can retire from that. Whether you plan on growing it and selling it, whether you plan on just having it as something that runs for you in the background, and there's various models. And I'll come on to that in a minute in a little bit of detail. But this should be the last job you ever want to do. You should never want to have to shut this down and go and work for somebody full-time. Maybe you do it on a fractional basis, a consulting basis, an advisory thing. That's cool. That will make sense. And you just run that back through your own business. But you need something that's going to survive the long haul, whatever that is. The younger you are, the longer that is, right? Thinking then about how do you build a business like this, and then the costings for that, right? I would advise you to work on a repeat cash flow focused model rather than a success fee per placement model. If you're looking at contractors, payrolling contractors is a challenge, and it's a costly one. Yes, you can. If you grow a large book of contractors, there can be a lot of profit in it, but there's also an enormous amount of risk. I prefer being paid for my time as well as my results, and therefore a retained model makes a lot more sense. This again links back to you need a certain amount of experience, because you can't, if you haven't got that, how do you gain the trust of companies to pay you up front for your time? But it means that you can show your new accountant when you set up your business, I have cash flow. Your bills can be paid regularly because you've got cash flow. Otherwise, it's very easy to go out there and win a load of vacancies and work on them and then get beaten to the punch in all of them and earn nothing, having worked for 2 or 3 months. And that will shut your business down real fast. If you're being paid for your time, it's harder to win the vacancies, but when you're working on them, you know that client's serious, and you know that you've got regular cash flow coming in. And for a small business, cash flow is king. It's also a very legitimate argument to have with customers when you're setting up terms. I'm a small business, so my payment terms are X, I get paid on this cadence because that helps a small business. Everyone's heard that argument and they agree with it. Again, speaking firsthand. You also need to think about then what you need financially, like we were talking about, what covers your responsibilities, what covers your bills. And then if you're working on a retained basis, divide that by whatever fee you're going to be charging. That gives you the number of customers you need. It'll be probably fewer than you think. And that makes having your own business seem less insurmountable. There's some good news in there. And it is less insurmountable than you think. It is easier. Recruitment companies don't want you to know that. They are going to tell you it's really hard and it's laden full of risk because they want to keep you in the loop, and they need you for that profit margin that you bring to the table. The reality is it isn't. And they know that the more good recruiters that are out there doing their own thing, the harder it is for the big ones to survive. Good independent recruiters are doing really, really, really well because you don't need to hit a made up target that your manager or team leader has said, oh, well, I need you to do, 4 deals this month. Why? Yeah, if I did 2 and that paid my bills plus gave me some nice disposable income to play with, that's enough. Oh yeah, but you've got to pay the overheads of the business as well. And of course you're only getting 30-40% of the commission on that as well, and then you're paying your all your deductibles to the government as well. So you need to do 4 deals just to stand still. Oh, okay, well that doesn't sound great. Let's cut all those costs and just do what's right for you, which is running your own business. So you need to work all that out. Ultimately, you'll need financial advice from a professional, an accountant, and that's something I'll come on to in the next video, where we talk about what you actually do practically to set up your own business. One of the things that will support you and that you definitely need is a network. You might want to call that a personal brand. You need awareness of you and what you do. You need to be some sort of known quantity. And that is where, if you're spending those few years in employment as a recruiter elsewhere, you can really lay foundational work for yourself. LinkedIn. You own your LinkedIn. No one else owns it. It's yours. And every connection you add to it and every post you put on there is building that brand awareness, that network, that personal brand. So that when you set up your own company that you connect to that, it is off on the best possible foot. It is off to the best possible start. Think about that. If you're just posting loads of stuff for your employer because they're asking you to like and reshare stuff, you need to mix your own things in with that as well. You do need to spend the time doing those things. You need to spend the time growing your connections and your network, because that is where you are going to be doing business from day one when you start your own company, probably. If you're not doing those things because your company don't want you to do them in work hours, you need to be doing it in your own time. There must always be steps forward towards building your own business, and brand awareness, network, general awareness of you and what you do is crucial to that. Experience, talked about experience. I'm reading my notes that I made over here, but it's not just quantity of experience. It's experiencing good things, bad things, and what you might think are unique situations. I'll give you an example. When you set up your own business, you're going to need to create your own set of terms and conditions. What you protect yourself from in those terms will be greatly dictated by what you have experienced in your career. I want a clause in there that says this because of that one client that did this to me. That will protect you against things going forward, and it means a lot more financially when it's your money and your time, and personally and emotionally as well, when it's your business, than it does working for an employer. So just a simple thing like that benefits from time spent in the job. You are going to largely be your own source of knowledge as well. I'd absolutely recommend joining groups like Required or something like that, the wonderful Andy Hallett's group, to share knowledge with other recruitment founders, and that's brilliant. But you are going to be your own source of knowledge. If you don't have that much to fall back on, it is hard. You have to go looking for external sources of knowledge far more frequently and readily. Really, you want to be confident in your own decisions that are right for you, and that does just come with experience, time spent on the tools, working the day-to-day. You can't rush that. You can't artificially create it. You can't really read up on it and gain it third hand. You've got to learn it. It's like a trade or a craft. You've got to be in thousands of situations, seeing your way through them, to then realise, the difference that makes. The two more things. Practical one, employment contract. The employment contract that you are in now, look at it. Think about what it says. What does it prevent you from doing if you were going to go and set up your own business? It's a real world thing. Do a lot of recruitment companies go and take consultants legal? No, because they don't want the bad press, and they can't really enforce a lot of it. But you will get immature threats, and CEOs and leaders can become very petty when it comes to this sort of thing. In fact, the more so if they know you're going to be successful, right? So prepare for that. But check it. Go and speak to an employment lawyer if you need to. And this will, again, come on the next video about practical things to do. But don't go into it ill-informed. And this really ties into my last point. Don't make a rash decision. Ellison Coast is the culmination of probably months, at least, if not years, of thinking about what I wanted to do. And then it happened at an organic point when the stars aligned, and it made sense that it needed to happen then. It was not a rash decision, although by that point it was quite a quick one. But it's like that cliche. It only took us 4 years to become an overnight success. It's like that sort of thing. Don't make snap emotional decisions. That's it. I'm done. I'm going to set up my own thing. You won't have time for all the other things we've talked about. You need to consider. You need to start a process of thinking about working towards having your own business. Think about all the other things I've talked about. This is all stuff that you should be thinking about before you make those decisions. And then it should almost feel organic and like it's meant to be. It's destined. It is fate that you have your own company because of all this culmination of things that's happened, and now is the right time to do it. When it is the right time to do it, if based on these other things we've been talking about, the costings, the vertical, the case studies, the financials, if everything lines up, and you've talked to other people about it, discuss it with other people, friends and family and partners, and discuss it with other people. If all that lines up and it just makes sense, do it right then. But that isn't a rash decision, because you've done all those other things, you've thought about it for months, maybe even years, and you've been building that foundation for that period of time as well. But that is the point, that you make the decision, you make the jump, and you go for it. So these are just a few of the things that I looked back over my journey before I set up Ellison Coast and thought about, and wanted to put out there for recruiters that are thinking about, is 2025 the year to have my own business? It definitely can be. There's no reason why it can't, especially if you're going to be a solo entrepreneur type model. These are the things you need to be thinking about. As I say, I will do another video where I talk about okay, you're now at that point. You've made that decision. What are the steps you need to go through? What do you do next? 1, 2, 3, 4. because there's some important things in there that if you get them wrong, have legal implications, financial implications, can slow down the growth of your business. There's questions that clients will ask you, it's financial advice, it's insurance, it's operational, it's systems, it's bank accounts, it's all that sort of stuff. So we'll go through that in a second video because it's too long for one. As I say, if you've got any questions, comments, stick them down below. Like this video, do subscribe so you get notified when the next video comes out. I really appreciate you listening. And yeah, if you've got any specific questions, contact me and take them offline as well, and I'll help you wherever you can. Otherwise, yeah, really appreciate you listening, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Cheers.